Today I will be going over the pros and the cons of the Akai MIDI controller. So let's start with the pros. So the first pro is that it's super portable. This thing is small enough to fit in your backpack, making it perfect for mobile producers, whether you're making beats in your bedroom, in a coffee shop, or on a plane. This little guy fits anywhere. No excuses to cook up anytime, anywhere. The next pro is that it's affordable. One of the best MIDI controllers, under 150, period. Compared to other options out there in this price range, you're getting a lot for your money. Think about it, man. You could spend that cash on a fancy dinner or a night out, or invest in your craft a little bit more and start creating bangers. The next pro is that the drum pads are fire. Way better than previous models. So if you like finger drumming, you'll love these. They're responsive, backlit, and feel like a mini MPC. Plus, you can map them however you want in your DAW, meaning like you can customize the controls for your beats. The next pro is that the knobs are solid. So you get the endless rotary knobs that give you way more flexibility when you're mapping the controls. There's no more dealing with the knobs that stop at a limit. You can literally just keep tuning and adjusting for smoother automation and control over your effects, volumes, and more. The next pro is that it has a built-in arpeggiator. So this is great for melodies, especially if you're not a pianist. Even if you don't know music theory, you can create insane sequences with this. You literally just gotta hold down the key and let the MK or MPK mini do the work for you. Like, this thing could be like magic if you like really know what you're doing with this. The next pro is that it has an OLED display. So finally, a visual indicator for better workflow and control. No more guessing where your settings are. This is a game changer for tuning your performance without relying completely on your computer screen. The next pro is that it is USB powered. No extra power cables needed, just plug it in and you're all set. It's perfect for producers who hate dealing with extra cords and just want a clean, simple setup. The next pro is that it comes with software. So this includes the MPC beats and a few decent sound libraries to get you started. It's not the most amazing software in the world, but it's free and you get the job done with it. Especially for beginners who have a DAW or don't have a DAW yet. The next pro is that it's great for beginners. So this thing is super easy to learn and use even if you're new to MIDI controllers. There's no confusing setup. Just plug it in, map your keys and pads, and start making beats. The next pro is that it has a strong build quality. This thing is sturdy and doesn't feel cheap. Even at this price, somewhat budget MIDI controllers feel like they can break, or they will break if you even breathe on them wrong. but the MPK Mini MK3 actually feels solid. The next pro is that the joysticks are pitch and modulation. So the joysticks for the pitch and modulation, some people miss the traditional pitch and mod wheels, but the joysticks actually allow more what do you say? How do you say it? More expressive control once you get used to it. But let me see. So this joystick here. So you can blend between pitch and modulation pretty smoothly instead of just pushing up and down like the traditional wheels. The next pro is that it's compatible with all or most of all major DAWs. So whether you're using FL Studio, Ableton, Logic, Pro, GarageBand, or anything else like that, the MPK Mini MK3 integration is easy. No crazy setup required. The next pro is that it's perfect for layering sounds. So because you can assign pads, keys, and knobs however you want, layering synths and drums in a single performance becomes super intuitive. The next pro is that there's a ton of customization options. So if you want a unique workflow, you can reamp everything to fit your style, your liking, making the controller as powerful as you want it to be. The next pro is that there's no latency issues if setup is right. So like unlike budget MIDI controllers, the MPK Mini MK3 actually has a low latency when mapped correctly to your DAW. No annoying delays when you hit keys or pads. So that's something really to consider. Now let's talk about the cons. The first con is that the keys are too small. So these things are not full size. So if you're used to a bigger keyboard with the weights, the grand piano, this might feel cramped. The keys are small, but honestly, for a portable MIDI controller, what do you expect? You can kind of see like my finger here, how big the keys are. Sometimes you might stumble like while you're trying to play like melodic lines, like complicated melodic lines. So if you like to move quickly, you might hit another note on accident. The next con is that there's no faders. So if you're having, or if you like having faders for mixing, you'll have to map knobs instead. So you can manipulate to have faders, but it doesn't have faders out of the box. So you have to map the knobs. So it's not a deal breaker, but something to consider if you do a lot of live mixing. The next con is that the pads aren't full size. So the pads feel great, but if you're used to an actual MPC, you'll notice the difference, most definitely. That being said, for a compact controller, these are some of the best pads you can get for a compact controller like this. The next con is that There's no dedicated pitch and mod wheels. So the joystick is cool, but some people prefer separate wheels. Once you get used to it though, it's actually pretty dope for real-time modulation. The next con is that the software setup can be annoying. So the MPC Beats is included, but some users have trouble setting it up initially. If you're already using a DAW like FL Studio or Ableton, just skip MPC Beats and use your own software. That's just my advice. The next con is that there's no aftertouch. So if you're into expressive playing, this might be a downside, but again, at this price range, aftertouch is rare. Next con is that you only have the USB MIDI, no 5-pin MIDI. So what does that mean? So you cannot connect into older hardware without a workaround. But let's be real, most modern producers are using USB MIDI anyway. So this thing is only USB MIDI. It doesn't have the 5-pin MIDI. The next con is that you have limited octave range because there are only 25 keys. So because there are only 25 keys, you have to use like the octave buttons and a lot. If you play a lot of two-handed piano parts, this might not be ideal for you. The next con is that it's not ideal for heavy-handed players. So if you land to hit keys and pads hard, you might find the MPK Mini a little stiff. But for most people, it's responsive enough. The next con is that is no built-in sounds for this MIDI. So this MIDI controller, this is a MIDI controller, not a synthesizer, meaning you need a computer you need a computer or an external sound module to make it work. So if you're expecting it to work standalone, this ain't it. The next con is that there's no Bluetooth connectivity. So in the age where wireless MIDI controllers are starting to pop up, it would have been nice to have a Bluetooth option, but USB is still the most reliable connection. The next con is that the joystick takes a bit of getting used to. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's different, but not necessarily bad. The next con is that the firmware updates can be annoying. So let's talk about the firmware. Occasionally you might need an update for the firmware, whether it requires downloading softwares from Akai's website or just downloading updates on your computer or whatever. It's not a deal breaker, but something to know. The next con is that the stock sounds aren't the best. So the stock sounds are included sounds, and they sound pretty decent, but if you want to make professional level beats, you want to invest into higher quality plugins and sample packs. The next con is that it has a limited customization on the controller itself. So, while you can map everything in your DAW, the MPK Mini MK3 itself doesn't have deep onboard customization options. You'll need software for advanced tweaks